We've been talking about quite a few of these important concepts and ideas, but I'd like to show you right now how the bishops can really help. And one of the most common patterns of using the bishop to destroy the opponent's king's defense or help our attack is the opportunity to move it on h6. Now, why do we move it on h6? Do we mean sacrifice? Well, if it's a position like the one that we see on the board, yes, it is. I mean, we've actually been through that. Just want to remind you so that you can take a look. We've got a nice idea of setting up our pieces, and for example, if the opponent tries to sort of defend, bishop f6 to protect there, we've got bishop takes h6, so the sacrifice is made to clean the way and help our attack quickly. For example, after bishop takes h6, bishop f6, bishop f6, bishop takes pawn, then we've got knight e6, and then there is rook c3 to neutralize the queen. The queen goes there, and then a rook lift. It's a bit too much, so black can't handle it. That's good. So we know about the sacrifice on h6 already. But what if there is no pawn out there? Can we still use that kind of a variation in order to continue? Well, let's have a look at this position. That's another very nice position in which I'd like to show you how white can use the h6 square to really speed up and strengthen his attack. The move we do here is bishop e3 to h6. Now that move, beyond any other move, it is helping us to really get ready to trade off the black dark squared bishop, which is the only defense he's got. And literally without that dark squared bishop on the g7, he's not able to come up with any defense. It's literally that way. For example, you can see after bishop h6 at this point, if black gets to capture, and then we simply retake with our queen, we realize that there is a group of very weak dark squares right near the black king's position. So these are the group of weak dark squares, and white's just about to start pushing the pawns and open up. Now this is going to be really bad, because if white doesn't, the majority of his pieces from behind are going to have an easy way to get close and do a lot of damage. So what does black have available after queen takes h6? Well, perhaps the move queen a5 should be the only way how he can try to counterattack. Obviously, to defend such an attack going on in such a short space, it's hard for black. So he would try to counterattack, and it doesn't matter. Now we use h4. Remember the pattern of pushing the h pawn, h4, h pawn to h5, and then exchanging. That's really great. So black can do very little. For example, after b4, knight to b1, and then queen takes a2, we can actually realize that there's the continuation of h5 by white, and now there's a big deal here. If black takes the pawn, then after a move like say g4, and so it is going to be actually impossible for black to defend. Most like knight g5 and knight takes h7. It's really too strong. On the other hand, we realize that after if black plays a5, white is just going to join the other pawn, so he can make the attack more powerful. Now, we don't do knight h3 here because black can possibly take it, and we want to preserve that knight. So g4, a4, h takes g, f takes g, g5. See how white is advancing the pawns? And when the knight comes, there is a typical sacrifice of rook takes h5. That totally eliminates the black defense and busts up his king. g6 takes, captures, king h8, queen takes h5. So when the king goes there, we finally get the second piece that we need with rook d2, and it's impossible for black to anyhow defend his king from similar threats like rook g2, queen g6, queen g5, or so on. It's losing. Amazing way of bringing it up. But okay, what if black doesn't play b4? What if he tries to do maybe a move like knight bd7, maybe just get closer and bring more pieces toward the king's side? Well, that's possible, but I think that now we can use the little moment when bishop takes h3 is stopped. So here we get that knight into the play. We bring it up to g5, so it actually sets the pressure over h7. And the real thing is that after b4 and then knight b1, black's just too slow. He's just too slow, and as a matter of fact, if he plays now a move like queen c7 or anything passive, white has the idea of playing bishop e2 and plan h4, h5, rook takes h and then f4 and then queen takes h7. It's impossible for black to hold it. His only at countering is queen takes to the a2, and now we've got h5 coming up next. Knight takes to c4. And what do? I mean, it seems like black's counterattack is becoming very strong. Do we take that knight? Well, not in this way. We don't care about what we're going to sacrifice, because all that we're going against is the black king. Now, when your main target is the opponent's king, then you don't care about anything else. If the black knight gets the capture in there, we can just get the retake, and his defense is impossible. So, actually, after that move, I guess he's going to do knight a5 to come out with some more pressure. But then we've got knight takes h7. Check. The king moves away. Another check. The king moves once more away. Check. The king moves out. And now it's winning, because even if black takes an h7 and h takes g takes place, his king cannot be anyhow supported. I mean, it's really amazing to see all these moves working in such a fast manner, but it is what it is. Black can't stop it. So, what other type of example we can say is generally available if we've got this bishop on h6? I mean, well, let's take a look at this game. Here is a very important type of position in which white's really leading this extraordinary attack with that bishop, this queen, and the pawn going. So the question is, how do we open it up? And I think that this question is nicely answered. We can exchange on the g7. Now, for difference in the previous occasion when black took on h6, there will be some players who wouldn't like your queen to be so much further. So they would rather wait until white exchanges on his own, so black can take back with his king, and maybe the king is a little more exposed, yet the queen is not so close. So what we do is that we just play h5. That typical idea can be easily understood, so that if black takes back with his knight, white's intention is to attack that knight, threaten to take there, to hit there, and double the black pawns on the h5 and h7. So, essentially, if the black knight moves, we have bishop takes g7, and when the pawn is gone, we're still going to get our queen into h6, and follow it up with g4, g5, exchange, and h7 will be definitely targeted by our rook and the queen there. So this is very dangerous. Black couldn't take that pawn with the knight, so he decided to take it with the pawn in order to probably get 2 pawns on the h-line, which will somewhat prove more difficult for white to attack. Yet it didn't work, because the g takes h, on the other hand, weakens something else. It directly weakens the g file. And it just takes a couple of moves time for white to make this work, like bishop to d3. It's important also to prevent that move is made in order to prevent f5 and the move of bishop f5, which will now be met by queen g5, and we see how there's a spin. Actually, black is in a double pin, so I don't think he can stop the further damage. So, knight bd7, and now we have knight g2. Let's not forget that before any successful attacks or activity, we have to finalize our development. Or at least in most cases, we have to do this. Bringing up the knight ge2 is giving us the freedom and the opportunity of playing g4. All that matters whenever there are opposite castle kings are the open files. The material is not as important, or at least the most, like most of the material. We see that now there are plenty of moves with which white can continue. So after rook dg1, black played king h8. And then white just captures back with this. White may capture back with the bishop. So I think it's not really working. So black. That's why after g4, black played knight f8, g takes h, and we actually realize that even if the black knight comes closer to defend, it's too hard. Having so many pieces, and the bishop helps white to eliminate the only thing that could defend black's position in a sufficient way. It was the dark square bishop. So we got now rook g5. Queen d8, the other rook moves from h1 to g1, and the truth is that if the black queen goes back here, we got even d5 or something. C takes to the d, knight takes d5 to exchange that knight and attack him on h7. So he can't do this, and I guess that pawn can just keep pushing. e7 is protecting f6, so I want to deal with that one now. So he's losing. He just can't defend e7, g7, and f6. All these pieces are too dangerously attacked. Like rook e8, d takes the e. If he takes with the queen, that one falls. If he takes with the rook, that one falls. So he's losing. I mean, I think that I find it really extraordinary to see how such kind of a situation goes when we've already exchanged this bishop and we are really leading with the attack. It's something beautifully played. So, that is what I'm going to guarantee you. Like, anytime when you see a fianchetto bishop, go for the exchange. this will help you to improve your attacking chances a lot.